This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
enough. You can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price you can get Truefire All Access for. I've actually wanted to try this for a little bit of a while, but whilst we've been talking about the convenience factor and all that stuff around tube amps, I wanted to try ditching the modelling gear just for one gig and doing it like fully-ish old school. So what I'm going to be doing is Deluxe Reverb. So the gig is in a marquee, so volume is not going to be an issue. So I can put this 2, 3, maybe even 4, depending on the part, but it should be fine to take an amplifier, as well as being the case that I'm probably going to make Lenny drive, so we're going to have a van, so I've got to carry the PA and all that stuff, but we'll take an amp as well. Now, what happens when you decide that you're going to take an amp is that you've got to find a way to get that amp into the PA. So normally I would use a hybrid kind of setup with my HX Stomp, but I thought let's actually kind of do away with that and we'll go fully old school. So I'm going to go with a Shure SM57 into the front of house, and the guys in the band that are on in-ears will have that, and also I'll put, I guess, a little bit of that out the front of house just if it needs help in that way. Thought I'd take obviously real pedals to go with this. So what we've got here, compressor for the cleans, I can switch that in or out. Then all of the drives are, these 3 are on this switch, so I can switch quickly to just clean if I need to. That's been quite important to me to stop the tap dancing thing. Then HRM for my rhythm tone, or bus for my rhythm tone. You see the G7 there, I'm actually scooping the mids a bit and taking away some of the lows to get kind of a rhythm tone. These are dialed in for kind of more lead-ish tones, and then this one, press that, drop it down for a chunkier rhythm tone, and the plus pedal just to give me more. The HX Stomp I would ordinarily be using in a hybrid setup to go to front of house and to the amp, but in this case I'm just going to be using it to go to the amp. So this is just doing 2 delays and reverb. There's an additional delay there in case I need it, but that's the board. I guess I don't know, it could be one of those marquee gigs. Normally I associate a gig with in a marquee with having more space, so that's why I'm thinking of this, as well as being one where you can actually be a bit louder because they're a bit of a drier space than like an old hall or an old barn. But what if I have one of those small stages? Then this could be an issue, couldn't it? So I guess I've got the digital stuff here on the board in case I need that as a backup, but I won't be taking an FRFR. Then that's one of the things that it is worth kind of thinking about, that an FRFR does take up about the footprint of a real amp anyway. So in some cases, definitely in the past, I've had it in mind like, well, what difference does it make if I'm taking an FRFR versus a real amp? Because either way, the footprint is basically the same. This is one factor with an all analog type rig, which finding, you know, number of open mics is also going to be an issue. Might increase feedback. as well as this is overall quite a bit heavier than the FRFR and just the modeler. So there are some trade-offs to be had here, but I'm going to report back and see if I had a more enjoyable gig in terms of tone. The other reason that I'm doing it for this one is because this gig I don't use in-ears, so I'm able to just enjoy the thing and not have the in-ear experience, which I think is a real novel thing in 2025, I think. I had intended to show you the desk audio because I set it all up, and then this morning as I was uploading the video I accidentally deleted the folder somehow, trying to get it onto my USB disk, and that's the whole thing. So that's been a good waste of time and hours of trying to recover that to no avail. So I do apologise for that. I do have another gig next weekend, so I guess I could try and do this exact same thing with the mic. This is kind of going now into like a period of time where like all of my gigs in July are back to in-ear gigs, and all of the ones prior to this have been basically in-ear gigs. So it's kind of like, right, I want to try this. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure why I end up thinking that things are going to be meaningfully, well, I guess it's because we all have heard so many times about like how much better an amp is than modeling stuff from various sources. But so what I did notice was that basically setting up the microphone and it sounding how I wanted to out front was way easier than I expected. I kind of just pointed the mic around here and it like clean tones, sounded good whenever I stood in front of the main speaker. Didn't get any of that like high-end stuff. So I don't know where that comes from with a modeler in general, right? But I'm sure we've all experienced that, where you plug your modeler in and then you go to your front of house and you're like, well, that's a lot of brightness. That didn't happen in this case, so I don't know where that comes from. It's weird, isn't it? It's like either someone at line 6 has gone, right, let's dial in some of that stuff that people won't like. The things that we have to dial back out. It is really interesting to me that that seems to just be a thing that comes along for the ride with digital. It isn't there so much with the Deluxe Reverb. Even if it might be a bright tone or whatever, out front with a mic, it kind of sounds bigger through those speakers than it did on stage. So that was interesting to me. I don't have the audio to check back whether that was kind of just true or not, but in any case, that was what I experienced. I was optimistic around the volume that I'd be able to get. I thought maybe 3, 4 might have been possible even, but actually between 2 and 3. So like first set is more funky stuff, so I kept that around sort of 2.5 and maybe pushed it up a little bit towards the second set, which is a bit more rocky. But either way, it's kind of clean all the way with the Deluxe Reverb. So I think if you're doing any sorts of gigs like I am, so that was a marquee gig where we were able to be louder than usual. Drums, you know, our drummer Ash is pretty loud. And yeah, the marquee was a very sort of dead sound, like nothing bounces back off you, so it's a little bit of a strange environment to play in, because you're kind of thinking, are we loud, are we not, are we quiet? It's really difficult to tell. Anyway, so that was that. I really liked the thing that I was doing with the pedal board, where I had my EQ that was actually bringing things down for a rhythm, so I kind of like that as an approach. But in general, it was kind of like I would have been just as happy taking out my Fractal FM9. So I don't know. This also isn't much bigger than a Tonex cab. It is a bit heavier. Also, like the mic part of it was like, well, I'm actually pretty happy with that as a workflow too. So I guess depending on the venue, this might have been more problematic. You know, like if it had been in a particularly noisy venue, like with lots of echo or stuff like that. Maybe a marquee was an easier venue to kind of get a good result from this. But in any case, I'm kind of glad that I tried it, because it just reassured me that I'll sound exactly the same if I was using modeling gear or using a real amp. And that is the lesson for today, I guess, after watching it back. So the audio from the camera is not amazing, but it basically sounds like the audio from any of my other videos that I've used modeling in my opinion. So there is that. So maybe I should look into this later on and look at like the cost of the two rigs and see if there is a cost saving there. Because if it's cheaper to get maybe similar tones with the modeling stuff, then that might be a reason. Aside from authenticity.